and you got your chat open. We will let Talia get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Great. And you can see my screen, I'm assuming. Wonderful. So like Melissa mentioned, my name is Talia, and I am the Education Manager with Omnify Benefits. And we've been excited to pair with the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County this year in administering the flexible spending account and dependent care accounts. And today I wanted to just kind of walk through a few things about what those accounts look like for you. Just kind of a general overview of what exactly these accounts are and how they can help you save money on taxes. And then I also wanted to talk through how to access your account through Omnify, either via our website or our mobile app. And I'll show you some great screenshots of what that looks like, different ways to submit claims and that type of thing. I also wanted to provide you with a few different resources that you have through Omnify. And then finally, just our contact information. So if you ever have any questions for our customer care team, we are local, based here out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And so we're proud to make sure that you guys always have access to any questions or anything that you might need to make these accounts a little easier to navigate. So just to make sure everybody is awake and with me, we do have a poll that I'd like to start with. And this is just kind of a general poll on your experience with an FSA or DCA. So in a moment here, RJ is going to put a poll up on the screen, and it's going to be asking you if you've used an FSA or DCA. So here are kind of the options that you have to pick from, and I'll give you a few moments to kind of look through those and see what people have done.
And that poll should have popped up in a new window there.
All right, so it looks like we have the majority of people. It looks like, hopefully you can see in the meeting chat what most people on the call are looking at. And it looks like most of you are currently using an FSA or DCA, or you have in the past. So that's great news. It's hopeful that you are familiar with how those work. I always like to kind of gauge that. It's interesting to see everybody on the call that has those types of accounts. So I'm just going to fast forward here to the actual flexible spending account to start and just kind of cover a few of the account basics. Since most of us on the call are at least familiar with an FSA, hopefully this is review, but things that I like to just encourage you to remember and think about as you're going forward. So the FSAs can be used for any sort of qualified medical, dental, and vision expenses. I say qualified because there are a few things that are not eligible for an FSA. We'll actually look at what a few of those might be here going forward. And your annual election that you make for these accounts is locked in throughout the year, unless you have a change of status. And a change of status is something like a marriage or divorce, maybe a birth of a child or loss in coverage. Those would be sort of some big life changes that would allow you to change your election. If that is something that applies to you or you anticipate maybe having happen, please reach out to your HR team and let them know, because there is time. It is pretty time sensitive to make that election. You can't tell us, 6 months from now, oh yeah, my husband changed his insurance and now we need to change our FSA. There's a time frame in order to do that. So just make sure that you're staying in communication with your HR team if that is something that does apply to you. And one thing with the FSAs that I think most people know, but I always like to bring up, is that these funds are generally a use it or lose it account. So they are tax-free buckets of money that you get to elect into your account. So you do not have to pay taxes on these when you contribute them and also when you use them. So definitely take advantage of those, but we certainly don't want you to over contribute. I always like to recommend people kind of gauge what they used their medical expenses for last year to kind of make their future year election, and always leaving some room, wiggle room in case something comes up that you didn't plan for. But if you know that you usually have a prescription drug that you take monthly and it costs you $20, or you go to the doctor's office once a month, or you have kiddos that have well child checks or any planned surgeries, anything like that. Those are the expenses that you want to make sure that you are including in your elections to make sure you have that money available to you. The city of Lincoln and Lancaster County does offer a grace period, and that's 45 days from the cutoff date or the end of the plan year that you can actually still incur expenses, which is very generous. They know that sometimes you might have $50, $100 left over, and they actually give you extra time to use that. And then there's a run out period of 90 days in which you have to submit any sort of receipts or reimbursement requests for anything that you incurred during that plan year. Everybody's favorite thing to hear is that you do have to provide documentation for most claims that you submit. There are a few options and things that, or reasons why you wouldn't have to submit documentation to Omnify, but because these are IRS sponsored accounts, it is our job to make sure that we're keeping this plan in compliance on behalf of the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County. So no, it's not Omnify trying to pick on you or make your life miserable. We have to make sure that we are collecting the proper documentation so that if the IRS chooses to audit in any way, we can provide that information and documentation quickly to make sure that the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County can continue to offer these plans. One of the best parts, though, about an FSA is that these funds are available to you on day one. So if you elect $1,000 into your FSA account, on the first day of that plan year, that $1,000 is available to you for use. So it's really nice if you do have a planned expense coming up. Maybe you've got a root canal you've got coming up or some sort of surgery, all those fun things that come up. But if you do have those things planned already, you have that bucket of money available to you that you can use to pay for those expenses. Okay, I've got another fun activity for us to try, and this is called Is It Eligible or Not? I know I talked earlier about some things that might be eligible and might not be eligible. So on your screen again, you should see another poll question that you can look through. And I just want you to mark the ones that you think are eligible. So anything that you think is eligible for an FSA, go ahead and mark that box. And there are, you can mark several. Give people a couple seconds here to complete those. All right. Looks like we've got quite a few responses. Thank you guys for participating. Right, so it looks like everybody got most of them correct. The one thing I do want to point out is that teeth whitening, so those couple people that might have picked that one, is not an eligible expense. It is considered cosmetic, and so it is not something that an FSA would be eligible for use. But I am proud of everybody that did not pick gym membership, because that is not something that is eligible for reimbursement. There are such things as a letter of medical necessity in which, it could potentially be covered, but that would be something kind of outside of the scope of a general FSA, and you'd have to work with your doctor to provide that additional documentation for it to be covered. So good job, everybody. Any questions so far on why maybe something is or isn't covered? See anything in the chat right now, so I'm going to go ahead and keep moving. Maybe. All right, so for 2026, the annual limit that you can contribute, so the maximum that you can contribute into these accounts is $3,400. That amount does typically change year to year. That is an IRS requirement or regulation that they decide. Those typically come out in October. However, the last few years, it's gone up by about $100. I would anticipate that's probably what's going to happen for 2027. However, we just don't have that final information yet. On the right-hand side of my slide here are some of those typical qualified expenses. So you can use your FSA to pay for any of those things there on the right-hand side. And I always like to bring up the FSAstore.com. This is a really great resource for you if you are someone that maybe has an extra $100 left in your FSA and you're not quite sure what to spend it on. Maybe you've already bought your glasses, you've already done all your exams for the year. FSA Store has hundreds of thousands of different items that are all FSA eligible. You can purchase directly from that website and ship it directly to your house, or you can actually just look stuff up. I use it quite often if I'm going to go out to Walmart or Target. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can use my FSA to pay for sunscreen. You can actually search that up on FSAstore.com. Oh, yep, there it is. I know now I can go to wherever in person and purchase that. Omnify is not associated with this in any way. It's just a resource I like to provide to you guys as just another option. We do get lots of questions, especially towards the end of the plan year of, oh my gosh, I have $500. What should I spend my money on? I don't want to lose it. And that's just a resource that we always try to provide people to go towards, just to kind of make sure that you can use your money and not lose it. I'm going to pause there if anybody has questions. Don't see anything. So now I get to talk about my favorite thing, and I'm sure your favorite thing to hear about, and it's documentation. So because Omnify is hired by the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County to make sure that these plans are in compliance, the IRS does require us to collect documentation that does include those 5 things listed on the screen. So all of the documentation has to have the patient's name and date of service. And this is just to ensure that the expense that you're submitting for did incur during that plan year. So you can't submit something that maybe a hospital bill that you were in the hospital from 2024, that would be considered outside of the plan year. So that's why we have to have that date of service included. Obviously, the amount due, we have to know how much you need to be reimbursed for, the provider's name, as well as the services performed. And that last one can kind of trip people up because maybe you went to Sam's Club and you bought glasses and you submitted the receipt to us that said Sam's Club Pharmacy, and it just had what you paid for it. Yes, it is Sam's Club Pharmacy or Sam's Club Optical, wherever you went. And we get a lot of people that say, Talia, it's clearly obvious I was in the optical. What else would I be doing except for buying glasses? And that's right. But again, there are some services or there are some expenses that are not qualified to be eligible for the FSA. And so that's why we need that services performed. Maybe you bought the extended warranty for your glasses and that's not something that's FSA eligible. So we would need to make sure that we had that services listed there. You do not have to write us an entire 3 paragraphs about the services performed. You can simply just put or have the receipt, as long as it includes maybe the ICD-9 code or copay or office visit, just something so we know what was performed there. I always say that the explanation of benefits that you receive from Blue Cross Blue Shield is the gold standard. It has literally everything on there that we need. And it's really convenient because there is an app that we offer at Omnify and as well as the insurance company. So you can simply download or take a screenshot of your EOB from one app and then upload it to us via the other one. If you have a question about your documentation, maybe you're not sure if it has everything that we need, certainly reach out to our customer care team and we can review it and kind of help you work together to make sure that you get that proper documentation. Okay. I'm going to switch gears next to the DCA for just a couple minutes. And the DCA is that dependent care account. So these are accounts that are eligible for any dependent that you may have or someone that lives in your household that is 13 years or younger. And you do have the ability to contribute again to these pre-tax accounts to pay for eligible expenses for dependent care. So that can be any number of those things there listed on the right-hand side. You can use it for pre-kindergarten, before after school care. You could use it at a licensed daycare center or even for in-home daycare centers. You can use it for day camps, and then this type of year or time of year, it's very popular for kiddos to attend different summer camps. I know my daughter is attending a dance camp during the day. She's super excited about. And you can actually use your DCA to pay for that, as long as it's not an overnight camp. And these have to be for things that your kiddos are doing during work hours or while you are actively trying to work. On the left-hand side is the 2026 annual limit. You will know that if you're single or married filing jointly, you can contribute $7,500 into these accounts, which is actually up $2,500 from last year. This was the first year that this account had been increased in quite a while, so we were very excited to see that change. Again, might not go super far. If you pay for daycare, you probably know that it's super expensive, but at least it's much better than it used to be. Again, very similar to the FSA, these accounts elections are locked in throughout the year unless you have that change of status, and these are also use it or lose it funds. So again, plan carefully, just make sure that you maybe know what you're going to pay for daycare last year. Maybe you have a new kiddo this year, you can kind of incorporate that into what you're planning to contribute. But again, we just don't want you to over contribute to these accounts because we don't want you to lose it. My favorite thing, again, you do have to provide supporting documentation for any claim that you submit for a DCA. And the services have to be completed before that claim can be paid, excuse me. So for example, if you sign up for a summer camp for your kiddo and maybe you registered them for it back in March, you can't actually submit for that claim until the camp has been completed. And this is a little bit different than the FSA, right? The FSA, all of the funds that you elected from the year were available to you right away. The dependent care accounts are available to you as those funds are withheld from your paycheck. We do have a couple different scenarios here that I like to walk through, though. You don't have to submit a claim to Omnify every week for the amount of money that you paid for daycare. If you had $500 available in your DCA for use and you submitted us a claim for $1,200, we would all automatically pay you that $500 that you have already in your account. And then that other amount would sit on hold until those funds are available for you. You certainly can submit weekly if you'd like to. We have some people that like to save up and maybe submit for all of their daycare expenses at the end of the year, just to kind of have maybe a nice bucket of money that they can use for end of the year expenses. And any of those options are okay. Omnify does offer a debit card or an Omnify card that you can use. If your provider accepts the card and has those codes enabled, you may absolutely use your card to pay for those daycare expenses, but you will still need to provide us with documentation after you use it. Any questions here? All right, well, guess what? We have another scenario here. I'm just going to bring up a couple different options for you, and you can make your selections on which of these items or options you think would qualify for that dependent care account. Hopefully we were paying attention here because I actually did give you the answer. Excellent. Yes. So the two correct answers here are any sort of daycare that you incur while you're working, as well as that summer day camp. A babysitter for date night would be wonderful. What even is a date night if you're a working parent? And then also overnight camp is not eligible because your student or the child is actually spending the night outside of hours when you would normally be working. So the correct answers again here was that daycare while working and a summer day camp. Thank you everyone for participating in these. If your provider does not, maybe you have your next door neighbor that provides the daycare for you, you can still use your DCA to pay for that. We actually offer a form on our website that you can download and have, all you need to do is have your provider sign it and provide either their social security number or their employer ID number. And that's going to allow us to submit for you, or you can submit to us, and this is all that we would need to be able to reimburse you. Some of the larger licensed daycare providers do actually offer an invoice that works great as well. It has all of that information on it that we would need. So that's fine to submit it as well. Whichever option you choose is fine with us. It just has to have the child or children's name, the dates of their care, the amount of the claim, the provider's name and address, and then that number 5 there is the employer's employee ID number or social security number. So as I mentioned earlier, Omnify does provide you with an Omnify Visa card for your use and convenience. You can use this anywhere that accepts Visa and that has the IIAS codes enabled. So no, you can't use it at Starbucks, and no, you can't use it to get cash out of an ATM, but you should be able to use it at places like Walmart, Target, things like that, to pay for pharmacy-related items or anything over the counter that's eligible. The stores and big box retailers have gotten really great about actually saying on either the receipt or the item that you're purchasing that it is FSA or HSA eligible. So I've been really grateful to see that, because I think it helps people to utilize their funds in a way that works best for them. So you can just keep that Visa in your wallet and use it whenever you need to. If you are someone, though, that would prefer to just pay out of pocket for your items and then be reimbursed by Omnify, you can absolutely do that. We offer an online portal as well as a mobile app that you can use to submit for reimbursement. If you are someone, though, that does prefer paper form, we still have those. I can get those to you, or they are also available on our website as well. You simply complete them, attach your documentation, and mail or fax them to our customer care team, and they'll take it from there. And again, just as I noted earlier, for those accounts, the FSA and DCA, you will normally be asked to provide documentation unless it was a copay or something that we had coded in our system, in which we would not ask you to provide that.
I tell you, there is a question
Oh,
in
sure.
the
Sorry, I missed
chat.
it.
Nope, from the dependent care.
If they sign the invoice now for June and July, can it be submitted now early? So the care has to be completed, Hannah. So you would not be able to submit it until that is completed. However, if you submit now for 2 weeks of June and the rest of it is July, the rest of June and July, we would still pay you out for those 2 weeks that have been completed, and the rest of those would wait until the care has been completed. Does that help with your question? Super, thank you. Good question. Okay, so our website, if you have not been to it yet, is omnifybenefits.com. You do not need an account to go to this website. There's a variety of resources available to you. However, this is also the account that you would, or the website that you would go to register for your account if you have not already. Once you set up your online account, those credentials that you use are the same for both the mobile app as well as the online portal. And this is where you would come to either upload documentation, to check your account balances, to submit a claim, all those types of things that you would need to use your FSA or DCA for. All right, get ready. We've got another poll. So this one we're asking, how would you use your funds? Are most of you guys the ones that would rather just go and use your card and swipe it? Do you prefer to reimburse yourself from our mobile app, or are you those ones that want to use the reimbursement form? Give us a couple seconds to do that. All right. Looks looks like most of us like the convenience of that card swipe. I know that's what I voted for. It's nice to be able to just have that in there and you don't have to worry about saving a receipt or forgetting to submit for it. So definitely use those cards for those card swipes. I mentioned before, omnifybenefits.com is where you'll register your account, and that's where you'll navigate to access your dashboard, which looks kind of like the example here on my screen. That first screenshot there on the left is going to show you the accounts that you have with Omnify. So in this example, this individual has both a flexible spending account and a dependent care account, and you can easily see both of those accounts and what the amount available is just by going to your dashboard. On the right-hand side is an example of what it would look like if we needed documentation from you. So if I went to the dentist office and I had a cavity filled and my bill was $13.27, and I used my Omnify Visa to pay for that, we are going to pay your provider for you. And then after that charge sort of settles, I know if you have another debit card, sometimes it'll show as pending until it actually settles into the bank. Then we're going to send you an email that says, we paid your provider, and now we need to know that what we paid is something that we should have paid, and we're going to be asking for a receipt or documentation there. So when you log into your account, right there on the right-hand side, you can simply click that blue box that says Add Receipt. All you have to do is upload your documentation, hit Submit, and our team will substantiate it from there. Right below that is My Alerts. And again, this is going to show any alerts that might be relevant to your account. So let's see, for example, on that August 26th, right below the orange and green there, it says an important notice regarding your Omnify benefit account first request. So this is going to be an email that we've sent you that said, hey, we paid this provider and we're still waiting for documentation from you. Please upload it at your convenience. And then that second one, or that top one, would be a denial. So maybe it was denied because we didn't have the right documentation. Maybe it was, out of service dates, something like that. You can simply click on that alert to read more about why that claim was denied. And then finally, on the bottom left is that FSA store. So if you are looking for something to shop for, you can actually just click that icon there and it will take you right to their website. Questions so far? For your convenience and timeliness, Omnify only reimburses you by direct deposit. So when you first register for your account, this is the first thing I encourage you to all do is navigate to that reimbursement method and update your direct deposit from check, which is by default because obviously we don't have your bank information yet. But you can simply click where my green arrow is there on the bottom to edit that information to provide us with your direct deposit information. You can also add family members from this page as well. So if you have a spouse or maybe an older dependent that you want to be on the account and have their own Omnify card, this is where you would come to set up and add those members as well. To submit a claim, we try to make it pretty easy and painless for you. You would simply just navigate to the claim submission icon, select the service type and the service date. You'll see anything that's asterisked there in red is required. So that's the information that we have to have. Everything else in there is optional information that you can include for your records if you need to. Once you've completed the left side and hit the next green button, you'll be presented with the documentation receipt icon here that's on the right side of my slide. And this is where you could either take a photo of your receipt, or if you have it already downloaded, this is where you could submit it that way. Once you have your documentation attached, you can simply click Confirm Submission, and our customer care team will review and approve it from there. I also mentioned that Omnify does have a mobile app. It's the one that I prefer to use. I think it's really great, easy to use. It is available for both Android and Apple users. You can simply search for it in the Play Store or wherever you would search for your apps under Omnify Benefits. Look for our cool circle logo there and you can download it. Like I mentioned earlier, the credentials that you used to set up your account are the same ones that you'd use for the mobile app. So you don't have to remember or do anything different. You would simply log in and then you would see the kind of the screenshot examples here at the front. That middle screenshot is what I like to point out. If this is where you would start if you wanted to submit an expense. So that green circle there towards the bottom is where you would add or submit your claims for something brand new. If you're trying to provide documentation for a claim that you've already maybe used your card for, those will actually show up on that main screen there under where it says you have 4 opportunities. It would show up on that first screenshot there towards the bottom. All right, so another quick question. Where should you check out if you are at a big box retailer, maybe like Walmart or Target or somewhere like that, where would you most likely check out for your FSA claims or items? Look at everybody. Great work, guys. Looks like we're at 100% with the correct answer. So you guys all can take the rest of the day off if you're still awake. Yes, the pharmacy counter. So I always recommend, and even if you're not purchasing a pharmacy item or not getting a prescription there, if you go to the front register, say at Walmart, for example, and you're purchasing allergy medication and Tylenol, and for some reason you use your debit card and it's not working for you at the front register, it's possible that that register is just not enabled for those codes to be able to purchase your item. If you head back to the pharmacy counter though, 9 times out of 10 it works just fine back at the back pharmacy. Unfortunately, that's not something we at Omnify can control. We do get a lot of people that call and say, I tried to use my card online and it got declined, and it's because we don't have the code set up correctly. And that's just the way that the vendor itself has the code set up, and it's not something that we at Omnify can control. We can definitely reach out to the provider and let them know what those codes need to be, but it's up to them whether they want to enable them on their end or not. So great job, you guys, 100%. Almost finished here. So there are some times, like I mentioned before, where you do not need to provide Omnify with documentation, and those are transactions that are completed at those IIAS merchants. So that kind of helps us determine if you've purchased something that's FSA eligible, then you would be able to just scan your item and the system would auto substantiate that for you. We do also have your copay amounts of your PPO coded in our system. So anytime that you're at a doctor's office and you swipe your card for that amount, our system will know that that is an appropriate provider and will auto approve it for you. Like we've talked about a few times, any other card swipes will be required to provide that documentation. And we do ask that you allow about 3 to 6 days for those claims to be processed. If there's something timely that you need us to review right away, feel free to call our customer care team and they'll do their best to kind of help out and get those reviewed for you if needed a little bit more quickly. One final question here. Hopefully we can keep up our 100% average. I know we talked about this earlier, but what is the best thing to use to submit your documentation? What was that gold standard? Anybody remember that? Ooh, looking good. All right, guys. Excellent work. Exactly right. Your explanation of benefits, or that EOB. is the gold standard for documentation. We know also sometimes it takes a while for insurance to process your claim, and you may not get your explanation of benefits in 24 hours, right? That would be amazing. I wish we could. So we know that sometimes it takes 30 to 60 days or even longer for you to get that information. And that's why we give you 90 days from the date of purchase to be able to upload that documentation for us. Anything after that, we would just assume that maybe you didn't need to use your card for that, and we would just kind of work with you to either repay that amount, or if you just let us know, hey, I am still waiting for documentation. It took a while for me to get my EOB, and we can just note that in your account as long as you let us know that's the best thing that we would like for you to do. And the final thing that I always like to bring up is that our team has seen an uptick in some fraud robocalls and emails lately. So just as a part of our ongoing commitment to safeguarding your personal information and preventing fraud, I just always like to remind you of several important security practices. So make sure that you always have unique usernames and passwords for all of your accounts. This is the one thing that I always get busted on, is I always try to use the same password for all of my accounts, and I've finally gotten better about that. But it's hard to do, right? Passwords seem to be needing to be more and more complicated, so it's harder to think of things, but it definitely will save headache in the long term. Always make sure to enable that multi-factor authentication whenever you can. So that would be the one maybe where you have to get a text message to your phone and provide the code, or maybe it's the Face ID. Those are the types of multi-factor authentications. And always ensure that you're reviewing your Omnify account settings. So if you log into your account, when we saw that first screenshot of where we were setting up our direct deposit, if you log in and maybe you notice that the phone number's been changed, or maybe an email address has been changed, those are some red flags where you would want to let us know right away and then change your password right away to make sure that we're if it is a fraudulent activity, that we're limiting that. And finally, never share that one-time passcode with anybody. Omnify is never going to call and ask you for that. We're never going to email you and ask you for that. If you do get a call or email that sounds suspicious or sounds not quite right, it probably is. So either hang up, delete the email, and then either let us at Omnify know or your HR team so that we can ensure that we are taking that seriously. And then finally, I just wanted to leave you with our contact information. As Melissa mentioned earlier, if you have any specific questions that you need to reach out to our team for, please, please, please let us know. That's what we're here for. We're here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can call us local there at the top number, but we also do offer a toll-free option as well if you're outside of Lincoln. If you are like me and you think of your question at 11 at night when you're trying to go to sleep, you can certainly shoot us an email here at support@omnifybenefits.com, and our customer care team will review that and respond to you as soon as they're available in the morning. And like I showed earlier, omnifybenefits.com is all things Omnify. I encourage you to bookmark it or check it out if you haven't already. And that is everything I had to cover today, and I will open it up for any questions. If you want to raise your hand or throw something in the chat, I'll hang out for a few minutes just to see if we have anything to cover. And then I'll turn it back over to RJ, I believe, to finish up. You guys are quiet. Great question, Christina. Does a receipt have to be submitted for all card usage? Our last provider did not require as many substantiations. And the answer is, unless you're using it like at a copay, or if it's something that our team does not have auto substantiated, then yes, you would have to provide us with that documentation, and you will receive an email from our team if you need it within 24 hours. I know that we've gotten some people that have shared that they didn't feel like their last provider required as many substantiations, and I can't speak to that. I just know that at Omnify, we really try to make sure that we're staying in compliance and that we are collecting the information that the IRS requires of us. So maybe you'll see a few more questions on that or requests for that. And that's just to make sure that we're doing our job that the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County hired us to do. Great question. Any other questions?
Well, thank you, Talia. If anybody has questions, definitely give them a holler. You can also reach out to benefits. RJ, I think we'll let you, I don't know if you have one more slide, Talia, on there.
Yeah.
Or if RJ's sharing his screen next.
Yep, I will be happy to share that. And thank you, Talia, and everyone. That is so helpful. I just want to give a personal shout out for the user friendliness of the website, navigating Omnify on there. So really enjoyed that. So what I'm going to share with you now is, if I can get the right screen here. Wanted to loop you into a couple of upcoming lunch and learns. So as you know, this is HR Insights, and this is open to all employees of the city and county. And coming up next month, you should be able to see a blue screen. And we have July 8th, navigating the ADA and what you really need to know. So you can tune into the training calendar for that one to register, as well as the following day. Melissa, were you going to say something on that one?
Nope.
And then wellness webinar coming up on July 9th, the next day. That's Fuel Your Body, Healthy Eating for Everyday Wellness with Continuum. It's our EAP, and I'm going to throw the training calendar in the chat there if you wanted to review what's coming up in the next month or so over the summer. There's some things into August as well as into September. And then the next thing I want to bring to your attention is please give us feedback on what you enjoyed from today's session with Omnify, what you've learned, and what was impactful to you. This is a short session. I'll also throw the actual link in the chat, and you can respond to that survey if you prefer to click on the actual link. But I do want to really emphasize that we take all feedback as very important as we continue to plan additional future lunch and learn experiences. So there should be a survey link in the chat as well. If anyone has any last remaining questions for Talia or for the Omnify team, you can definitely throw that in the chat, and we'll hold a few moments. Please give us feedback. And seeing no further comments, then please, you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for attending today's HR Insights, and we look forward to sharing space with you again in the next one. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.